Hey everyone, I'm Spencer.
I'm Lara, and we're married with board games. We live in a time when anytime someone mentions school for wizards and spell learning, you of course think of Harry Potter. But Harry Potter doesn't have a monopoly on education and wizardry.
In fact, we're here to discuss a game that takes that particular theme and makes a competition out of it. In IDW's Arcane Academy, a 2 to 4 player tile-laying game from Eric Lang and Kevin Wilson, spellcasters are pit against one another in a duel for honor and prestige.
So, let's head over to the table for a look at how the game plays, and then we'll tell you what we think.
Okay, this is Arcane Academy. Now the game plays 2 to 4 players, so there are enough of these player mats for 4 people, but I'm just going to stack them all up here so that you can see. There are also 4 of these will markers, 1 for each player. This is what the setup of the game might look like when you get ready to play. The goal is to have the most points at the end of the game. You're going to do that by making items, by casting spells. There are various ways to get points, and those are kept track of by these little tokens. You've got these count as 1, but then you've got some that are worth 3, and that's how you keep track of the points as you gain them in the game. You'll be collecting. Well, you start off with a hand of 3 of these assignment cards, and they're either these spells, which are the blue ones, and then the items, which are the red ones. There's a cost that you have to pay to put these down. So in this case, you have to spend 3 will from your will tracker to be able to put this card down. And then for these, you have to spend this amount of shards. So this one doesn't cost anything, but this one costs 6. And at the end of the game, it's worth 4 points. So you can see how there's some resource management into this game as well. Once one player purchases, or in the game it's called completing assignments, once player does 8 of these, the game is over, and then the final score is calculated again by the point trackers that you have or the number on the cards, and then some cards will have additional ways that you score points at the end of the game. On your turn, you can either cast or rest, so it's very simple as far as what your options are, but when you cast, you have some different actions you can do, and I'll show you those right now. First of all, your player board starts with 4 different actions, if you will. The way you cast is you take one of these exhaust cubes and you put it on top of that action to show that you've done it. In this case, this means I get to acquire a new tile. I can choose from one of the 4 that you see on the table. This one, that one up there, or this one. Where you place it and what's on it is very important. So let's say I take this tile right here and I place it right here at this orientation. Now notice on these tiles they have these little couplers or link ports on the tiles. If you align these with other tiles, so say this one, and then you are on the following turn to use one of the actions on this, you get to do all of the other adjacent linking tiles. You get to do their actions as well. So in this case, if I exhaust the action on this tile, I can do this one essentially for free. And on a later turn, I can come back, even though I've already done this action, and exhaust this tile again. I don't exhaust it whenever I do it as a result of linking. Now it's only adjacent, so you can't create an ever-linking chain that would keep going down that way. But you can see that the possibilities for, at least with this one, you could chain up to 1, 2, 3 other tiles that you acquire. You can see how you could potentially build off of one tile for a very successful turn. Some of the other actions you can do are, in this case, you choose either to gain 1 on your will marker here, you go up 1, or you can gain a shard. You can put that over here with your stuff. I like these shards. These are huge. Normally you play with smaller ones, but these are really big, and that's a really neat decision they made with this game. And their action is to acquire a card. So you can complete an assignment. So you can either do one from your hand or one of these public ones that are out there. Again, this is what I was talking about, where you pay the cost and then you put it down and do what the card says. If you have a card like this one that has this little magic wand symbol on it, you can instead choose to do activate a card, and in this case I would gain 2 shards. There's a large variety of these tiles. Like this one, you can gain 2 will. Or if we dig around in this bag, because once you take one from the center you do have to replace it, let's look for one that you might not see. So there's one that has 2. You've got this one. Ooh, this one's really neat. This is wild, so it can be any of the actions that you do. But I think other than that, there's some variety again. Like this one is really cool. You can do both. You can get both a will and a shard. But essentially, there's different varieties of those 5 main actions. Complete an assignment, collect shards, gain will, use an item, and then the wild symbol to do one of the other 4. When you take the rest action instead of putting one of these exhaustion cubes down, basically you just remove all of the exhaustion cubes that are on your board and you get to start fresh. Once somebody completes 8 assignments, they'll put this pencils down card out there, and then the game will end after the person who put that card out will end after their next turn.
Okay, so let's just go ahead and dive in.
Okay.
Let's start talking about this artwork.
Yes.
What do you think?
I love it. I know this is based on a comic series, which I've not looked at all, so I don't know how this compares, or if these are actually characters or not, but this is excellent artwork. I like that it's cartoony.
It definitely evokes that feeling of a comic book.
It really does, and I feel like it's very friendly, inviting. It's not too cartoony to where it's like, oh, this is a little kid's game.
It's very all ages
It
feeling.
really is. And we'll get to it in a minute, but that's really evocative of the entire game. But yeah, I love the artwork. I love the presentation of the game.
It's really easy with like magic
It is.
and whatnot to go dark.
It is.
And they keep it nice and light, and I appreciate that.
That, and then like the iconography on all the cards, there's never any question on what everything means.
Right.
I mean, there's that initial, okay, what do all the different symbols mean? But they're pretty, it's not one of those things where you have to keep referring to that. You pretty much get it from the start.
True. Like, I mean, figuring out when you put down a blue card and then figuring out when you can actually enact that.
Yeah.
That took me a little while because sometimes I see an icon on the card and sometimes I don't. But that just was something I needed to get used to. And
Yeah.
it didn't take me long.
So the visual presentation of the artwork, graphic design, excellent job. What do you think of the components themselves?
I really appreciate what they did as far as actual tiles. Instead, I think it'd be very easy to just do cards to lay on top of your grid. But the fact that they actually made them tiles, I really appreciate that.
Well, even that player mat could have just been a piece of very thin cardboard, but it's a really good.
It's an actual mat, and then placing those tiles on it, it feels really good. It feels like I could be doing something kind of magical here. And then when you start picking up like the crystals and whatnot, that makes it even more.
Which, speaking of, those are pretty awesome.
I love them. I love it. And it looks so pretty on the table.
When I opened the box, I was like, what are these? Because I've seen those crystal components in other games, but never that big before.
Right. Yeah.
And I love that.
That's so true.
They're
I didn't
giant.
realize they came in
Exactly.
that big of a size, and now I'm finding out they can actually be even bigger than that.
Yeah, I love it. And so, again, they could have very easily just done the tiny ones, but it's so much more awesome when you acquire those. Oh, bro, your hands are overflowing with them because they're so big. And then I love the bag, the little wheels. I mean, everything I feel like is made very well in this game.
I think they're all high quality components, and I'm always a big fan of when they will actually go that extra mile and put together the high quality stuff that makes even the tactile part of the game an enjoyable part of the game. Yeah.
Exactly. So done. Let's move past the physical and the visual of the game. Let's get into how it plays. So as far as the mechanisms, how everything works together, how do you feel that is complexity wise?
I think as far as getting like your turn and what you can do on your turn, it's so simple.
Yeah.
You can
exhausted.
Just put something on one of these tiles and then do that action. And if you link them, chain them, then you can do some more things. And I think that's so
or just rest.
Easy
remove
to follow.
all those.
That's true. And golly, I hate when I have to do that, especially when you're so good about getting the spells or whatever the technical term is, that whenever an opponent rests, that you get to rest too.
It's good stuff. And that's a good point. I love the variety of the cards. They all feel very unique. I know they're maybe
they're
duplicates, but as far as what they do, it feels really nice.
I think it's balanced.
It's extremely balanced.
Because they're also worth points at the end of the game. But some of them, they're only worth points if you have so many fire crystals or different things like that. And I think that's one of the main things is they did a great job balancing those.
Extremely balanced. And you mentioned that chaining mechanism. I love that. That is so unique. It's an excellent way to build this engine that you've got going. If you can link everything off of one tile, you can do so many actions on your turn. And it's really something that you try to work for. You know, some people we've played with have just kind of like put everything else aside. They don't really care.
Just like, ooh,
let me see how much chaining I can get and see what happens whenever I do that. And they didn't win. But taking advantage of that chaining mechanism feels very satisfying.
Definitely.
It's like, I do this, but I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. It's really neat. And you know one thing that I realized when we were thinking about this? So the actual act of putting one of those black cubes, an exhaust cube, on top of an action, it's supposed to be like, okay, you can't do this until you rest because it's exhausted. But it almost feels worker placement-y. Imagine your cube is like a worker. You put it down, you do that action, and you don't get to do it again until you put another worker on it, but you can't do that until you rest, whatever. So if you like that mechanism, this would be, again, it's kind of hidden beneath the theme and what you're doing.
You're right.
But do you get what I'm saying?
I definitely do. I am thinking of other games that we have like that, that if there's already a worker there, you can't put another one on there. And you're right. I hadn't even thought about that until you just said that.
Thank you.
He's so smart. Hands off, ladies.
Oh, I'm all hers.
Yay.
All right, moving right along. So we mentioned the variety in the cards. I like the decisions of which cards to get. So when you do have the option of acquiring cards, you either get, the spells or the items, basically, that you're doing. And I like that not only are you acquiring those cards, but when you complete those assignments, that's the end game. So you can't just build up this massive amount of cards, and just get super good, and then the game has this indefinite timer on it.
Right.
No, as soon as someone gets done with 8 assignments, game over.
Oh, I know.
And I feel like...
And that's the thing I enjoy, too, that it does have that in-game timer, and we can... All of us sit there and we count each other. Oh, my goodness, Spencer already has 5 assignments done, you guys. And we're talking to each other and everything. And I enjoy that. Being able to talk to each other at the table about that, and the fact that it does actually have that timer to it as well. Yeah,
so, and because of that, I feel like it's got the ideal playtime. It's not too long. The box says, 30 to 45 minutes. I feel like it fits that perfectly. It's just the right amount of time to play, and it's very enjoyable. And also the player count is 2 to 4 players. I think that it scales very well. I think it works well at all player counts. So it's great at 2, 3, 4.
I agree.
Lots of fun. I am kind of sad this game's been out for a year, and it's by 2 great designers, Eric Lang and Kevin Wilson. And this is one that's kind of not gotten a whole lot of buzz about. But we definitely recommend this. And we'll sum it up in our final thoughts here. But, this is definitely one that we think, for if you're looking for more of a lighter style family game, but with some really neat stuff going on into it, this is definitely one we recommend. So really what we're trying to say is Arcane Academy is a well-produced and well-designed game that rewards clever tile placement and is perfect for newer gamers. Forget Harry Potter. Well, don't, because it's still good, but add Arcane Academy to your knowledge base too. It's a very fun tile-laying game that offers meaningful decisions and great opportunities for some basic engine building too.
It's definitely a great introductory game too. Being easy to teach and having an approachable theme, you really shouldn't have any trouble introducing this game to newer gamers.
For those reasons and all others discussed, we give Arcane Academy a rating of 8 and a seal of excellence. This is an all-around solid game that is very fun to play.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check us out on your social media channels to see what we're playing next.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.